kids are kids, all kids are kids, and they will always try you. Kids will try you anytime, anywhere. So we had our own moments when we tried my mother. I remember one day, I don't know what happened, but I started just crying. And my mother begged me and begged me. And the more she begged me, the more I cried. You know what my mother then did? My mother just went and brought one very big container. She put the container in front of me and she said to me, please cry all your blood in there. And at first I didn't understand. I touched the tears on my cheek and I looked at it. As a child, kids are very innocent. I touched and there was no blood. I said, what blood? She said, yeah, because you're crying. The way you're crying, it doesn't look like you're going to stop. And at some point, blood will come. And since I can't stop you, so I'm giving you a bucket to cry all the blood in it. She said, but when you cry the blood, make sure you fill the bucket. Kids are really silly. And I said, fill the bucket with the blood. And she said, yes, that bucket must be filled with whatever blood you're crying. She said, you must not stop. And then, so I responded, I said, but what of when I'm ready to eat? She said, don't worry, I'll bring the food to you. But you must not stop until the bucket is filled with blood, the tears of blood you are crying. And being a child, at some point, I said something like, I remember this day very well. I will never forget it because I think it was after that my stupid, silly crybaby thing stopped. And I said to her, but what if I cry all the blood from my body and I die? Will I die if I fill the bucket with my blood? She said, well, there's a possibility that you might die. Kids are really stupid. And I said, but I don't want to die. She said, well, it's your choice. I'm not telling you to die. And I said, but if I fill all the bucket with the blood, it means all the blood will no longer be in my body. She said, well, there's also that possibility. And then she said, and then I said, but if all the blood is in the bucket from my body, that means I'll be dead. And then I started crying afresh at the idea of being dead. She said, well, there's also that possibility, but it's your choice. So either you stop crying or you fill the bucket. But like I said, you must not live there. If you insist on crying, you must not live there until you fill that bucket with the blood you're crying. My people, nobody needed to tell me to stop crying after that. I looked at that huge container that my mother brought. I actually thought that my mother was serious, that I would actually start crying blood. And then I thought about this big bucket that she insisted that I had to cry and fill with blood. And I didn't know when to die.